A few years ago, some researchers ran a very interesting experiment. They gave people 7 different bottles of water to taste. Some of these bottles were very cheap, some were super expensive, and some were just tap water. Now the result was very interesting and surprising. People could not tell the difference. In fact, for many people, filtered tap water was actually better than the expensive imported brands in the blind test. In another experiment, somebody filled up regular tap water into fancy water bottles with completely made up stories about exclusive sources and high mineral purity. All of it was nonsense.
So yeah, we fly out to these places to get the water ourselves.
But strangers who tasted it could not stop talking about the superior texture and the clean finish.
My palate was like, whoa. That was intense.
It's very different.
The reality was that it was tap water, and yet what is interesting is that even after knowing all of this, most of us would still feel a little bit weird consuming unbranded water ourselves, right? We would naturally look for a branded water bottle if we were given a choice. We would still feel somewhere deep down that the expensive water bottle is somehow a little bit better. And this is not even just about water. A 50,000 rupee watch effectively tells the same time as the 500 rupee watch. A 5 lakh rupee handbag holds your things in the exact same way as the 5,000 rupee handbag does. In fact, even in blind wine tastings, expensive bottles usually lose to cheap wine bottles, and this is even when the people who are judging are trained experts. And if you think about it, in most of these cases, the products are functionally identical, and yet we consistently pay 10x, 50x, and sometimes even 100 times more for one product over the other. Now, the obvious explanation here is that we as human beings are irrational, and that marketing has somehow brainwashed us, and that we are just not very good at evaluating quality. But I personally don't think that is quite right. I think we are really good at judging the value of what we are paying for. We are just very wrong about what we are even paying for in the first place. And that is what I will discuss, hopefully in good amount of depth and detail in today's video. My name is Anurag Bansal, and this video has been supported by Zerodha 01 Media Network. Let us get into it. Over 100 years ago, an economist called Thorstein Veblen noticed something that seemed to break the basic rules of economics. See, for most products in the world, if prices go up, demand goes down. This is pretty obvious, right? For example, if dal becomes expensive, you end up buying less dal. And if flights become costlier, you travel lesser. That's how most markets work in the world. But Veblen found a category of products where the exact opposite was happening. When prices went up, demand also actually increased. People wanted these products more because they were expensive and not because they were not expensive. He called these Veblen goods, and understanding how these Veblen goods work changes the way we all see the entire world of premium products. See, the insight was very simple. Some products exist not to serve a function but to send a signal to the world. I'll explain what I mean by that. Think about what actually happens when you wear a very expensive watch to a business meeting. See, you're not really checking the time on that watch. What you are actually doing is that you're telling everyone in that room something about yourself without having to say a single word. You are basically signaling your taste, your success, and your place in a certain part of the world. The same thing happens when you carry a designer bag, or you carry a luxury car, or you wear clothes from a certain brand or a designer. You're not just using these products for their basic function. You are communicating something about who you are. This is what economists call signaling, which is using visible purchases to convey information about yourself to other people around you. And the important part of this whole thing is that signals only work if they are hard to fake. Basically, if everybody could easily buy a luxury item, it would stop working as a powerful signal. The entire point of a signal is that it separates you from the others. The difficulty of getting something is exactly what makes it valuable as a signal in the world. So that means for these kind of signaling products, the high price is not really a barrier to purchase. The high price, in fact, is literally the product that you end up buying. Now, once you realize that, you will also realize that some of the smartest brands are not just selling products to us, they are selling exclusivity. And some of the smarter ones have also figured out how to manufacture that exclusivity very consciously. Let me show you what I mean with a very concrete example. Do you know there are products in this world that you cannot even buy if you have all the money in the world? A Ferrari is one of them. And mind you, I'm not talking about a rare vintage car or a limited edition Ferrari. I'm talking about a Ferrari that is currently in production, technically listed as available for sale, scale, but still, even if you have the money, you just cannot walk into a showroom with the money and drive out. You have to join a waitlist, and depending on the model that you want, that waitlist can go on for many years. Now, for some of you, when you first hear this, the obvious assumption would be that Ferrari cannot simply keep up with the demand, that their factories are running at full capacity and they're doing their best to make more cars, but they are just not able to because the demand is very high. But to be honest, that is exactly the opposite of what is actually happening. See, Ferrari's founder Enzo Ferrari had a principle that he became very famous for. He said that the company should always sell one car fewer than the market wants. Hear that again, one car fewer than what the market wants. Now, if you think about what this means, he was not trying to maximize sales, he was consciously holding back even when people were standing in a line to buy his cars. To give you a sense of scale here, Ferrari produces around 10,000 to 13,000 cars a year. That's about it. And for comparison, a mainstream car company like Toyota or Hyundai produces millions of cars annually. In fact, even Porsche, which is in the business of making expensive sports cars, produces around 3 lakh cars every year. So if they wanted, Ferrari could easily scale up production because they have the resources, they have the brand, and they obviously have the demand, but they choose not to very consciously. And look at what this conscious scarcity also does to their business. Ferrari's profit margins are at around 25 to 30%. And to give you a comparison again, most car companies in the world operate at margins of 5 to 10%, and that is considered normal and healthy in the automobile industry. But companies like Ferrari operate with numbers in a completely different league. And it's not even just that. A lot of Ferrari cars actually end up appreciating in value over time instead of depreciating like most other cars. There have been many cases where a used Ferrari has sold more than its original price. So if you think about it overall, Ferrari is technically not in the business of selling cars. It is basically in the business of selling a membership to a club, and that membership only has value because most people cannot get in. You'll also see this exact same pattern play out in luxury watches. Take a brand like Patek Philippe, for example. They make only around 60 to 70,000 watches per year. For their most popular models, which have become status symbols now, waitlists can go on for about 5 to 8 years and maybe even more in some cases. And what's most interesting is that some dealers apparently will not even put you on the waitlist for their popular models until and unless you have bought other watches from them first. So the idea is basically that you need to prove your loyalty, you need to build a relationship with the dealer, you need to demonstrate that you are a serious collector of watches, and only then will they consider you for the watch that you actually came for. So people literally end up buying watches that they do not want just so that they can get a chance to eventually buy the watch that they actually want. It's that crazy. Now, this obviously raises a very interesting question. What exactly happens when a brand does the exact opposite? Basically, what happens when there is no scarcity at all, there is no exclusivity at all, and there is no signal to send? See, in 2008, Tata Motors launched a car called the Nano that I'm sure all of you have heard about. The price tag was around 1 lakh rupees, which made it the cheapest car in the world at that time. Now, the intention behind launching Nano was genuinely great. Tata wanted to bring car ownership to millions of Indian families who could only at that point in time afford two-wheelers. And if you have ever seen a family of 4 people balancing on a single scooter in the rain, you probably very well understand the problem that they were trying to solve. Because a small and affordable car would be safer, it would be more comfortable, and it would be more dignified for a family. So Tata set up manufacturing capacity to produce 2.5 lakh cars per year. They expected massive demand because after all, that was a car that millions of Indian families could finally afford. But the funny thing is that over the 10 years of their production, they sold less than 3 lakh cars in total. That is the number of cars that they were hoping to sell in just about 1 year. So the question is, what went wrong? See, the Nano had zero scarcity, it was everywhere, it was available to everyone, and it was aggressively positioned in every advertisement and every news story as the cheapest car that you could buy. The 1 lakh rupee price tag was the entire marketing message, and this created a problem that Tata probably did not even anticipate. See, when you are buying a car, especially in a country like India, you're not just buying a mode of transportation, you are also making a statement in your area. Every car on the road communicates something about its owner, their taste, their priorities, their success, and their place in the world. This is true whether we like it or not. And the Nano statement unfortunately became, I bought the cheapest thing that was available. And that's why the car eventually got labeled as the poor person's car, and owning one literally felt like publicly announcing that you could not afford anything better. The result was that the car that was supposed to bring mobility to millions of Indians became something that people were embarrassed to be seen driving. And of course, it became a failure story at the end of the day. Now, if you zoom out and think about all of these things, one thing becomes very, very clear. A car is eventually a car. It gets you from one place to another, and that's about it. But one brand can sell it at 30 times the price of another, not because it is 30 times better at being a car, but because it sends a 30 times better signal about the person who's driving it or owning it. Similarly, water is water. Blind tests also prove it conclusively. But if you put the right label on the bottle, if you wrap the right story around it, it can command 10 times the price. And in the exact same way, a watch is also a watch. The cheap one objectively keeps better time, but the moment you give it the right brand name, you manufacture decades of carefully maintained exclusivity around it, it becomes an asset worth crores of rupees. Most of us think that we are paying for products, for quality and for functionality, but more often than not, what we are actually paying for is stories, signals, and the feeling of belonging to something exclusive. And the brands that really understand this are no longer in the core business of selling products at all. They are in the business of manufacturing desire itself. That's all I have for you in today's video. I would love to know your thoughts in the comments down below. I'll see you in the next one. Take care and bye-bye.